Hey everyone, you are listening to Beyond the Ring podcast. I am Tejas, and today we are going to speak about the latest episode of Dark Side of the Ring. And this episode is named as Dark Side of the Ring Blood and Fire Onita's FMW, which came out last week. And this episode actually focused on the Japanese deathmatch legend Atsushi Onita, who actually founded FMW Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. And this was a pioneer deathmatch promotion which actually put on hardcore matches, real hardcore matches. And this promotion is one of the first promotion which actually inspired many such promotions that we have seen, such as Combat Zone Wrestling, CZW, ECW Extreme Championship Wrestling in 90s, and Game Changer Wrestling GCW that we now see and have fans as well for that. I'm not a fan of deathmatch wrestling, but I did really like the I loved actually this documentary, and I loved digging into this and kind of having kind of obtaining new info. That was a cool thing that I thought about. Anyways, guys, before we get into this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more wrestling content and reviews, etc. like this. So we get into this episode then. So we started off with Atsushi Onita introducing himself, and he actually founded this FMW promotion in 1989. And the Japanese wrestling scene was like, we had they had two wrestling promotion pillars, you can say, the New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Japan Pro Wrestling. And it was a big challenge for Atsushi Onita, because this wasn't a kind of a traditional wrestling kind of a promotion. This was another kind of thing, the hardcore thing, which fans would like or not, or would be have a fan base or something. That was a real doubt, but it came out wrong actually. And we had in the starting of this episode Mick Foley and Sabu coming having a talk with both, making it clear that the FMW was hardcore wrestling pioneer in that. And Sabu actually also no stranger to that, and he actually is a very well-known name to the wrestling world, not only in the hardcore and but in the in the in the wrestling fans community actually. So Onita's actually introduction to pro wrestling, he said that he actually came about this FMW like he wanted to, like, first of all he talked about how he wanted to become a wrestler. So Giant Typhoon, this is a Japanese comic book which actually inspired him to be a wrestler, and this is the central character of the fictional story, you can say, which was based on Giant Baba, Japanese wrestling legend you know about. And he claims that he read it and thought that pro wrestling is awesome. And even Giant Baba actually headlined Madison Square Garden, which actually he was so selling out the. So he also wanted to do like that. So that actually sparked him that he wanted to get into wrestling. He wanted to do wrestling, and there was a common kind of thing that in the Japanese wrestling scene, that you actually train in many of the dojos. So Onita actually came through AJPW, All Japan Pro Wrestling Dojo, and after this he actually was sent on an excursion. And this is always done till now as well. We see New Japan Wrestling legends coming into, New Japan Wrestling dojo guys coming into the American soil, like NJPW America, you can see. So kind of that more typical in Japanese wrestling, and it allows them, the young wrestler, to actually have a better understanding of the skills and the style of wrestling from other states and country, you can say. So Terry Funk was also being introduced in this, and Mick Foley and Terry Funk both go into the detail in how actually Terry Funk actually influenced Onita. So one of the influence was Giant Baba in getting into wrestling. The hardcore part of it was Terry Funk, who actually was a big influence for Onita to come to this kind of scenario. And Funk actually informed him that Onita had sent to Amarillo, Texas, and it was here where Onita actually paid close attention to Funk's matches, and he he actually would become arguably the biggest wrestler, and he actually would match. He have a barbed wire match, and he really idolized him. He said, and Atsushi Onita also said that Terry Funk actually took him under his wing then. And they actually have the training, and they actually explain about the fun moments they had. So this this hardcore brand of wrestling actually was originated in Tennessee. Atsushi Onita said that, and he said that this kind of wrestling, this hardcore wrestling, invokes excitement in him and in the audience as well, that he wanted to do about that actually sparked him, as I said. And he then returned to Japan for after his excursion, and Onita returned to All Japan Wrestling as much improved and polished wrestler. However, a serious injury that caused Onita to kind of having sidelined from his wrestling career, as his knee actually peaked out, kind of bone actually pierced through his skin of the knee, and it was very disturbing to listen, but it was enough to make him that he would have to be thinking that what's next kind of thing. And he was like, what's next? He was thinking that, and he was a high flyer, and that was his style, and his abilities were known about, and he was great in that. And he managed to actually change his style to something which would help the 90s era of pro wrestling, he said. And this actually led to the idea of the birth of FMW, he says. And following his injury, Onita began to experiment kind of this promotion and bring in some kind of an attraction, states Onita. And he did just that by hiring Masashi Aogi and to compete with him in the ring, and pitting wrestler against martial artist. And Onita describes how actually fans starts clashing, having a different sport versus sport kind of similar emotion to the one he noticed in Tennessee, he says. And he was clearly onto something that he thought about, and that something was FMW. And it is when Mick Foley was talked, then he happily described FMW as a buffet of brutality. And that's a great word actually that he said. And and he's not wrong actually. And martial artist, women's wrestling also being shown, also being were show they were shown as well. They were also doing this hardcore wrestling, and the skins were just peeling out of their body by taking a fireball incident that Foley described about once caused a female wrestlers actually the dress getting burned, as well as skin as well, causing pain and very distress kind of. Yeah, Onita then wanted to do things that Giant Baba, the All Japan Pro Wrestling, or the New Japan Pro Wrestling, which was led by Antonio Inoki, wasn't doing. So he wanted to be different, and he wanted to be the third biggest promotion that actually that gave something different and to the fans. And he was very determined for that. He had the courage for that. He wanted to do that. So then Ricky Fuji come into the scene, and he describes how the action actually was focused squarely on the ring, and fighting would regularly break it out in the audience. As Mick Foley says, a single barb can do a lot of damage, he says. And the image of Sabu's body getting scarred and getting just burned out shown down the episode is one of the thing that you can say that FMW no doubt was a very 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 hardcore promotion, which kind of have a major impact in the wrestlers lives actually. And it diminished the life quality of number of performers in that scene actually. And Atsushi Onita had said that he felt a lot of pain, and he felt his pain in the ring, but he would plead every match, he also said. But at the end of every match, he actually publicly cried in the front of audience. And his way of his way of showing the respect that fans actually were throughout towards this match, cheering for him, and giving excitement, giving all he wanted, and just appreciating the fans. That's the way actually he does, and he cries for after the match, and he actually tells that. And then we gets to a tag team match thing, a tag team match which actually happened where Sheik, the uncle of Sabu, uh, uh, Sheik and Sabu actually going up against Onita and Goto in a fire death match, which actually didn't go as well, which actually had a terrifying injury was suffered by Sheik in that match, who actually whose body was suffered serious burns. 60% of his body was burned this in this documentary, and his back, his skin was getting peeled off, and this was described by Sabu. So there was this was really bad time that actually happened in the in FMW. So then we get to the point of underworld influence, which actually was which actually was uh, uh, a yakuza named underworld crime faction in Japan also had its actually they actually have the arenas, casinos, and all have their hands on that. And Sabu describes an incident where he was beaten by the Japanese this group, this mafia called Yakuza. So before Mike Awesome actually jumped into it and saved his life. So they had a major influence into that. So Yakuza kind of financed the whole things that's what they were getting into, the promotion and to run this matches and all. And yeah, so certainly they were having some financial difficulties from that as well. You can see that having support from Yakuza is a major thing, which if they have money, they shouldn't have, they shouldn't do this actually. And but they did this because they wanted much more money to set up these things. So it's pretty expensive. So that's what we have seen in this documentary. And Onita actually achieved a nationwide fame, and he talks about how he actually was a Japanese hero, and he was a baby face. He was earning $2 million per year. He said he owned 5 cars. He said he was a star in the mainstream audience as well, and he actually was on a different TV show almost every day, he says. And he had led a lot of name on that got attention to the FMW promotion as well as Onita himself as well. So he was in the peak of his career and his existence, you can say. But nevertheless, it always was a number two, because the style that they were doing, because this is not a style that the casual audience like the All Japan Wrestling audience or New Japan Wrestling audience like about, because this is very brutal, and you cannot watch this kind of matches, or go to arenas to watch this match with your children or something. But you gotta be careful. So that's what actually was separated from those two promotions. So it was always number two, he said. So this was the thing. So then we get to the moment where Atsushi Onita actually decided that he wanted to take a retirement from the ring. So this documentary was narrated by Chris Jericho, as always. All the series is being done by narrated by him. So he came into this, and Onita he narrated this, that Onita actually shocked the audience and announced his retirement from the ring in 1994, and he didn't want to do it, and states Terry Funk. And I mean, we cannot blame anyone, because of the sheer amount of pain and sheer amount of the stuff that they were crazy stuff that they were doing. You cannot do every day, and you're just doing like a decade or something. You're not going to do that. Yeah, you cannot going to do that. And he would continue wrestling for a year or so, but he actually wrestled his final match against Hayabusa, who is it was kind of a passing the torch moment, and it was a kind of a direct successor for him as the ace of the company that he was talking about. But the biggest mistake that Atsushi Onita did was when he actually you can say that sold the FMW promotion to Shoichi Arai, who was the FMW backstage guy and ring announcing guy, actually didn't know about the business. Nothing, he had no knowledge about it and how to run the company. And his daughter, actually Arai's daughter Shell, was also in this episode, and she said that it was a very bad decision with her father being kind of dragged down into this run this promotion like FMW. The popularity of FMW actually decreased after that. Following Onita's extent, the star power was the one. Onita was the one who actually was the engine of that, or the fuel of that promotion, you can say. And a Rise takeover didn't go well because the promotion actually take a hit, a major hit into the ticket sales, and the merchandise sales all was getting low. And in the meantime, FMW was kind of going to the into a dead end. But Onita on the while was into an acting career, which also didn't took off. It didn't pay off him well. And Onita announced his return to wrestling again, to just kind of is going to have another life for FMW, you can say, but this time to work for Shoichi Arai, because he was the main booker, or the main head of that promotion, you can say. And Onita would return as a heel, and he actually reignited their rivalry against Hayabusa. And however, Arai would name Arai actually said that he named Kodo Fuyuki so as the new head booker of the promotion in the meanwhile when they were going to do this match. And as the company's booker, he took the company in a new direction, because he wanted to do more of a sports entertainment style, like a kind of a WWE style, we can say that. Far away from the hardcore style, because and this is the problem, because they actually had this much amount of fan base, creating large amount of fan base, creating hardcore wrestling matches. And then you go to this comedic stuff, they actually show some clips of that, which was very funny to see, like this promotion is doing this, and the direction actually totally was changed, and it was not too popular, and the fans were not liking it. And after that, he was told by Arai, Shoichi Arai, to leave the company, because he wanted to do his thing, because it was his decision to have the booking power to Kodo Fuyuki, and that was his. So he actually gave him. So if you ask my opinion, that if he had said that he would like kind of a kick out kind of that he said, it's bad, because Monita actually was the one who actually created that name. And Arai doing that wasn't a good thing that he did. But he wanted to do his own ambition, and was kicked out of the company. He said that I founded, says Onita in the episode. And FMW wanted to proceed with Hayabusa as a top star, but unfortunately, on October 22nd, 2001, Hayabusa suffered a career-ending injury in the ring. A springboard moonsault of the top rope actually gone wrong, and he straight out of lands onto his neck, and it just his neck actually tweaked, kind of in a very 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 awkward manner, and it actually gone very very wrong. And he was not able to pick himself up, and he was paralyzed, permanently paralyzed. He was speaking, but he was paralyzed. And one bad move that caused the biggest loss of the company, because he was not he was not like the other performers of something. He was the main guy. He was the ace of that promotion, FMW. And he would never walk again without assistance. Was a really really bad thing. Was very sad looking at that moment. Yeah. So Then we get to the point where FMW was facing major financial trouble, where they were having difficulty in selling their tickets, and merchandise sales were going down. And he because the promotion attraction and the promotions plans and directions are totally changed. They wanted to have entertainment things, so it was going way downfall thing was going on. And Shoichi Arai actually took major big amount of loans from loan sharks, like the Yakuza, to help run out the company. And he would take big amount of money, and he would not able to pay back. And his daughter also stated that his phone was also sometimes ring every day, several times. Yakuza actually they actually threatening him to pay them. So it's very obvious that if you take money, big amount of money every now and then, then the owner would ask you to pay them off. So that's a correct thing. But that actually threatened the whole family. That actually created a whole lot of disturbance in their family as well. And quite interesting actually. Arai actually also took money from the family side as well to fund the promotion and to just run this promotion. So it was very bad time for FMW after that. And Sabu actually also stated that how after his last match for FMW he was not paid, and other workers were also not paid. And RI told him that he was going to hang himself in the following day, and he did just that, as he killed himself in a schoolyard on May 12th, 2002. And the intention of the suicide was, you can say, it was simple. You can say he believed that he wouldn't be able to pay them off, and Yakuza gang would be killing himself or doing any harm to himself. But what he did is really uh, really bad thing he did, because he actually put a uh, dangerous thing onto his family, responsibility onto his family. And that wasn't the way he should have done that. But that didn't Yakuza didn't want anyone's life, because they aren't getting paid if you are taking your own life. And they took their family home. And her daughter said that I mean, Arai's daughter said that Shell said that her whole memories was in the home. And he actually didn't she actually didn't have any single piece of evidence of kind of, yeah, just have memories. And she directly somewhat then blames Onita, stating that she believed he used her father's kindness to push the company onto his hands, that because he didn't want to do it anymore, so he was just passing it around, just having, just you do your own thing kind of thing. And he just said that FMW would fold after that, would actually suffer the defeat after that, after Arai's death, and split it into two new promotions, as Kodo Fuyuki's World Entertainment Wrestling and Mr. Kanosuke's Wrestling Marvelous Future. So this weren't very getting focused, but just they stated this name. And it actually returned into, after a decade long, you can say, in 2015. It returned with Atsushi Onita Wrestling once again, with Hayabusa serving as an executive producer, which was really great to see him just have an appearance. But tragically, disaster again was having, I mean, just 1 year later, at the age of 47, just such a young age, Hayabusa would collapse in his home and die. His death was brought onto by the complication of his paralysis that he suffered a decade earlier, that he said. So FMW was this was a story of FMW, the rise and fall. But you cannot take away the major impact that it had. As I said, it actually created major hardcore wrestling promotions in the United States, like Combat Zone Wrestling, ECW, which is the most biggest successful that its period had, the 10 years or something it majorly had. And GCW, and it's fairly doing it very well as well. And Mick Foley states that FMW was in the East geographically, and it was the wild west of wrestling, where anything could happen and would happen. And Onita states that he believes he invented true hardcore wrestling and distributed it internationally, and it's correct. And Sabu says what he learned in FMW, he took to ECW his style, and we know how he put on the matches, and with him the hardcore wrestling style, which would shape the US states hardcore pro wrestling future. And when asked about what he in the finish, in the ending, he was asked about, would say to Onita if he could see him now. And Terry Funk was asked about that. Terry Funk jokingly just laughed at him, and he just said he loves him. So man, this was the end of this was the end of this episode. And this was a really a great episode that actually focused upon the rise and the fall of this of the once in a lifetime or the history making hardcore wrestling promotion FMW, which actually had a major impact on this industry and the fan base that's still on to this date as well. So guys, what's your thoughts? If you have seen this episode, what's your thoughts on this episode? Tell me in the comment section below. And if you like my highlights, if you want to do if you want me to do like this more, do make sure to like this video, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one, guys. Until then, be safe, stay energetic, and peace.